All right, let's talk about big tech. It's everywhere, right? It's in our pockets, it's shaping our news, it's just part of the air we breathe. But how much do we really know about what's going on behind those slick logos and big keynote events? In this explainer, we're going to peel back the curtain and separate the common myths from some pretty surprising realities. So let's dive right in. So let me start by asking you something. When you're online, clicking around, how much control do you feel like you really have? I mean, think about all the little things you do to protect your privacy. Are they actually doing what you think they're doing? That's where we're going to start. So first up, the user illusion. This is all about the gap between how we think our devices are protecting us and how they really, truly operate. We're going to dig into the tools that we literally use every single day and maybe question some of the big assumptions we make about them.
And that brings us to this key idea called privacy theater. Basically, it's any feature that's designed to make you feel safe and in control, even if you're not. And the absolute poster child for this? Incognito mode. We all use it thinking it makes us anonymous, but here's the reality. Its main job is just to keep your browsing history off your own device. It does practically nothing to stop websites, your internet provider, or even your boss from seeing exactly what you're up to.
So if incognito mode isn't the answer, how are you being tracked? Well, one of the wildest ways is something called browser fingerprinting. Here's how it works. First, whenever you go to a website, your browser just kind of shares little details. Things like your operating system, the fonts you have installed, your screen size, seemingly random stuff, right? Well, step 2, the website gathers all those little data points and stitches them together into a digital fingerprint that is uniquely yours. And here's the kicker. That combination is so specific, it can pick you out of a crowd of millions, letting companies track you all over the web, totally bypassing things like incognito mode or even if you delete your cookies. And this is exactly why that old argument, "I've got nothing to hide," just completely misses the point. Look, this isn't about hiding secrets. It's about the fact that your personal information, your name, your address, your logins, it's a product. It's a valuable commodity being sold on criminal marketplaces. In today's world, cybercrime is automated. The bad guys aren't picking targets one by one. Everyone is a target by default. So you see, privacy isn't about hiding something bad. It's about protecting yourself from fraud. Okay, so we've looked at the illusion on our screens. Now let's go behind them, inside the companies themselves. We hear all about the amazing perks and the culture of Silicon Valley, but what's really driving these massive corporate engines?
The image we all have is this perfect, well-oiled machine. But people who've actually worked there describe it as something more like managed chaos. It's a system built for constant experimentation, but within very strict goals set from the top. And beneath that surface, there's an even bigger secret. A hidden, two-tiered workforce that powers the whole shebang. And when you look at the actual data, the divide is just staggering. On one side, you have the direct employees. They're making, on average, over $113,000 a year, with permanent jobs and a clear path to move up. On the other side, on the very same campuses, you have the contract workforce, the folks working security, cleaning, or serving food. They're making under $20,000 a year, have zero job security, and face what researchers call a concrete wall that blocks any chance of advancement. And just look at the demographic breakdown here. It tells a powerful story all on its own.
For so many people in that second tier, the work itself is just grim. This quote from an Amazon warehouse worker really puts a human face on all that data. You feel like you're in prison. It's not about free lunch and ping pong tables. For a huge number of these workers, it's about relentless pressure and being monitored every single moment of the day. Now, when you have this much power concentrated in so few companies, it naturally leads to one of the biggest debates out there right now. Are these companies monopolies? And trust me, this is not a simple yes or no question. Both sides have some really powerful arguments. So let's break down the two sides of the coin here. On one hand, you have the critics who say, yes, they absolutely act like monopolies. They buy up smaller rivals just to get them off the board. This creates what's called an innovation kill zone, where investors are literally too scared to fund new competitors. But on the other hand, defenders say, hold on, there's tons of competition. They point out that no single company technically meets the legal definition of a monopoly, that most of us use, like 9 different social media accounts, and that a lot of these digital services are cheaper than ever or even free. And if you look at the market share numbers, you can kind of see their point. While these companies are obviously gigantic, none of them technically cross that 66% threshold that's often used as a legal line in the sand for monopoly power. Amazon's got 38% of e-commerce, Apple's at 58% for smartphone operating systems, and while Google and Meta dominate in digital ads, neither one has that 2/3 share on its own. So, okay, if it's not a traditional monopoly, then what is it? Well, many critics say it's a whole new kind of economic model, something they call surveillance capitalism. The core idea is that our private experiences, every click, every search, every place we go, is treated like a free raw material. It's just there for the taking. And all that data is then used to build prediction products, which are then sold to other businesses who want to know what we're going to do next and maybe even influence it. And the engine that powers this entire prediction machine is, of course, AI, artificial intelligence. It is the biggest buzzword on the planet right now, surrounded by unbelievable hype and, let's be honest, a lot of fear. So let's try to separate the sci-fi from the facts. You've definitely seen headlines with numbers like this: 300 million. That's one major projection for how many full-time jobs around the world could be impacted by generative AI. And yeah, that is a terrifying number. It's at the very heart of all the anxiety around AI.
But, and this is a really big but, that number doesn't tell the whole story, not even close. Because while the World Economic Forum thinks AI could displace around 92 million jobs by 2030, it's also expected to create 170 million new ones. So this might be less of a job apocalypse and more of a massive transformation in the kinds of jobs we'll all be doing.
Here's another myth we really need to bust: this idea that AI is conscious or that it's perfect. It's not. The absolute best way to think about the AI we have today is as a super advanced autocomplete. It's just a pattern-matching machine. It doesn't think, and because it doesn't actually understand anything, it can do this thing called hallucinating, which is just a fancy word for making stuff up and stating it like it's a fact.
And these hallucinations, they have very real-world consequences. I mean, a lawyer actually got sanctioned by a court for submitting a legal brief that was full of fake cases an AI had just invented. We've seen image generators pump out pictures that are just loaded with harmful stereotypes. Heck, Google's own CEO has publicly admitted their models have hallucination problems. It's a huge reminder that these are powerful tools, for sure, but they are far from perfect and absolutely require a human in the driver's seat.
So, where does this all leave us? We've talked about our privacy, the reality inside these companies, the whole monopoly debate, and the hype around AI. It's time to bring it all home.
So what's the real takeaway here? I think it's that the reality of big tech isn't one simple story. It's not about heroes and villains. It's a messy, complex, and constantly changing story. It is a story of incredible innovation that has absolutely changed our lives for the better, but it is also a story of control, surveillance, and huge hidden costs that are often passed on to the rest of us. And that leaves us with one last question to think about. In an age where this technology is just woven into every part of our lives, what does it actually mean to be an informed person? The myths are always more comforting, they're simple, but the reality, as we've seen, is way more complicated. And just being willing to look at that complexity, well, that's the most important first step of all. Thanks for watching.